Alright, it's back. The Quadzilla Banshee, 500cc. Banshee frame, Quadzilla engine. And as you guys know, last video, the first 10 minutes of riding this thing, after buying it, it blew up and scored the cylinder and the piston and caused zero compression in the engine. So we got to ride it for 10 minutes. I paid $37.50 for this thing, got her home, fixed the water pump, took it for the first ride, and 10 minutes later I was pushing it back home. So it was very, very unlucky, but we ended up sending the cylinder out and the piston out. You can see the damage on the old piston right here. You can see the rings are welded into the piston. It got really hot on all sides of the piston. You can see all of them are scratched up, and then the cylinder was scratched up basically on all sides as well. So I sent out the cylinder to David Midkiff and Justin Harris at DM Cycles. You can see this is their information right here if you guys want to use them. Really nice guys. They contacted me and were like, we can do it for a really good price, send it out to us, and we'll take care of everything. And they were great to work with. Any question I had, they answered. They called me with any concerns, and the communication was just amazing from them. So I definitely recommend working with these guys, and they do a great job. The cylinder looks beautiful, and they even contacted Wiseco to make sure that the ring specs were perfect, and they put a ton of time into the cylinder, and it came out great. I'll show you guys the finished product here. We ended up boring it out to 88 millimeters. So with the Quadzillas, you can bore them out quite a bit before they can't be bored out anymore, or you have to re-sleeve it. So you can see how nice of a job they did. Zero imperfections in that bad boy. And then they honed it a couple times, and they said that the ring spec is perfect now. And they said all you have to do is wash the cylinder really well with soapy water, and then break it in using 20:1 fuel oil mixture, and we should be good. So with this Wiseco piston, since it doesn't have the bridge on the exhaust port right there, we don't have to drill the 2 holes in the piston. A couple people were like, oh, it's missing the 2 holes on the old piston. You know, usually Wiseco recommends you drill 2 holes. But because it doesn't have the bridge in the exhaust port right there, like it does in the intake port, that's what the bridge is right there, you don't need to drill the holes. So we are not going to be drilling holes in the piston. If you do have the bridge right there like that in the exhaust port, you do need to drill the holes, and a lot of people forget that, and then they end up seizing their engine up because the piston expands where that bridge is and gets too hot, and it seizes up your engine, or at least the piston into the cylinder. So again, shout out to DM Cycles. I'll leave their information down below in the comment section and in the description of the video. Again, here it is. Give them a call and or an email, or contact them through Facebook, and just reach out. They're really nice guys, and they'll take care of you. So again, DM Cycles did a great job. Anyway, we are going to be rebuilding this thing. We've got everything we need. We've got the piston, we've got the cylinder back, and then we've got this top end gasket kit to rebuild it. That's basically all we need for the 2-stroke. Pretty easy to rebuild. We have to wash out the cylinder with soapy water, and then blow it out with compressed air just to make sure everything is perfect on that thing. And then we have to reinstall the power valve. Here's the power valve for it, and we're going to clean that up, put that back in, and then that's basically it. The head is looking perfect on this thing still, so we don't have to mess with that. And a couple people in the comments were like, oh, it could be your squish is a little bit too tight between the piston and the cylinder head. And I looked into that, and what happens with squish being too tight is it detonates pretty early, and causes like little divots in the piston or the cylinder. And I've had that happen before with other quads, but this one I don't think that's what's happening, because The piston top looks perfect, and then the head actually looks perfect as well. So I don't think that's what caused the problem. I'm thinking maybe the gas line, because it was melted. Where's the gas tank here? You can see it's melted. I'll show you guys. See, this gas line's melted right there. It was touching the pipe, and I think the gas going down was getting too hot, and it was boiling the gas before it got to the carburetor, causing a lean condition. So that's one theory. Another theory is that the gas mixture in the tank, which I did not change when I bought it, was a little bit too lean. So maybe he was running like 60-1, or I'm not sure what he was doing, but it should be like 40-1. So maybe the mixture was off a little bit, causing it to run lean. So another theory is that maybe the ring clearance when the guy rebuilt the engine was a little bit too tight, causing it to heat up and expand, and caused this problem right here where it hit all sides of the piston. You can see it damage to all sides. So maybe that ring clearance was a little bit too tight. I'm not sure, but we're gonna take our time rebuilding it, make sure it's done right, and then we'll start it up and break it in. We've got a bucket full of soapy water here. It's warm soapy water. We're gonna wash the cylinder, dunk it a couple times, and really get it cleaned out. We don't want any metal shavings in there. And with 2 strokes, they can get stuck in the ports and cause some problems. So it's good to clean her all out. All right, cylinder's all cleaned, sitting over there. Now we're going to clean up the piston as well. Making sure there's no metal shavings on that either. And you can see from the piston, you can see the 88 right here, 8800. That's the size of the piston. So, piston is brand new, Wiseco. Thing's almost as big as my hand. Thing's massive. So that's all cleaned out. We're going to blow it all out with compressed air then. Make sure all the water's off of it, and then spray it off with brake cleaner. All right, cylinder is all cleaned up. You can see looks perfect in there. We're gonna be installing the power valve now. Power valve just goes right into there. And it can only go one way. I already cleaned it off. You can see there's a bearing right here. A little bearing right there. And that little hole lines up with the hole right there. So let's get that in. Goes in like this. Alright, as you can see, the hole right there is lined up with the hole in there. And then you can see that when we spin the power valves, they move freely. So if that was bound up, something would be wrong. So it goes right into here like that. that holds that in place. Make sure the power valves can move still, which they can. So those are all good to go. All right, now we're at the other side. We've got to put this guy in, the spring. You can see there's a little notch right there and one right there. Doesn't matter which way it goes. Just place that in. And then you can see there's a groove right here for the spring to fit in, and then there's a seal right here as well. So let's try to get that in there. Just push that in. Alright, that's good to go. And then we've got this. You can see there's a 0 right here with an arrow pointing this way, and then a 250. 250 goes to the top. You can see the 0 right there with a little line. So we're going to put the bolts in, but we're not going to tighten them up all the way yet because we have to spin that 360. So just tighten them a little bit. I'm gonna spin this 360 so you can see the 0 with the notch right there. We'll start there, basically, and then come all the way back. Tighten that down. And what that does is give tension to the power valve so that it has spring action. So I'll show you guys that in a second here. So you can see now when you push on the power valve, see how it springs back like that? Opens and closes. So that's all set to go. Everything's nice and tight in there. Alright, on to the next step. Alright, let's work on the piston. Gotta get the rings on here. So it comes with 2 rings. Right here. And these were already set, so they're perfect. You can see there's a little N on there. Right there. So that's the top of the piston ring. So you're gonna put it on like that. Don't put it on like that. And there's another N right there on this one. Same thing, and with the 2-stroke, the rings don't matter which is top and which is bottom. They're the exact same ring. So let's get these on. I'm gonna find the little pin, one right there. What I like to do is just put one end right by that pin and then kind of stretch the other one over. There we go. There's the pin right there. So that ring's good. And then just one more. There we go. Alright, both rings are in place. We're going to oil up the piston and the cylinder before we put them on. Bearing here. And then these 2 pins go on the side here, like this. So we're going to have to get those to stay on there. Put the wrist pin here. Arrow pointing towards the exhaust. Alright, then we'll get the other pin in. Alright, for the base gasket, we're going to put a little bit of Permatex on it to seal it. Quadzillas are known for blowing base gaskets, so we'll try to prevent that by putting this on there. Right now we're going to oil up the piston and the rings. Move those rings all the way around. Alright, time to get the cylinder on. I had forgotten one dowel pin, and I already put that in, so let's try to get this cylinder down here. Gotta get this power valve, actuating rod. Power valve rod in there, in place. Kind of tricky to do. I was afraid I was going to break that off there for a second, but we got her. That's all good. Let's get the bolts in here. Right here. And these are going to be torqued to, I believe it's 25 foot-pounds for the bigger ones, and then the smaller ones go right here. I think are 8 foot-pounds. Alright, cylinder is all torqued down. Just did that. You can see it, how smooth that is in there. So that's looking really good. Alright, let's get the head on next. Start at 15. We'll bump her up. Which way this? Compression after we run it for the first time, but I'm guessing it's gonna be pretty high here. Let's see. All right, let's see if we have compression. Uh-oh. Hitting the head or something. That's weird. Huh. The piston is, I think, like hitting the head. That is not good. We're gonna take off the head and see. Alright, so I took off the head and it looks like we are hitting the head with the piston here. So you can see it come up to like right there. Look how much it comes past the cylinder there. And I just looked on the other piston to compare the two pistons, and look what I found here. Look at the edge on that. You can see where the piston was jamming into the head right there along that ring. See it better right here probably. See that at the top of the piston right here, that little ridge? So it's off by like a millimeter. Because I'm sure if you double up the gasket, it would be fine, but I wonder if you can shape that down in there. I'm not sure what you do there in this situation. Alright, so I doubled up the gasket and we no longer hit. So we're off about maybe 2 millimeters, millimeter and a half. So that's not good. Alright, so check this out. If you look at the piston at top dead center, check this out right here. See how it comes past the cylinder? It should not be doing that. Look at that. Comes past the cylinder like a millimeter. And that should be flat to the surface of the cylinder there. So I'm thinking, I called Dave, the guy that did the cylinder, and he said the same thing. He said that maybe the guy that replaced the rod put the wrong rod in or something. Because look at that. Look how high that comes past the cylinder there. It's about 2 millimeters past. So that is not good. And I don't think it's a shaved head because that wouldn't really affect it if that's coming past the cylinder. So it's either a shaved cylinder or a crank rod that's too long. So we're gonna have to tear it all back down and try to figure it out. So that kind of sucks. I was hoping for the first start today. All right, so after further investigation, I decided to put on the old gasket, the old head gasket. This is the new one right here. I put the old one on, and check this out. Doesn't get stuck. So I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm gonna measure the thickness of this one, and then I'm gonna go over here and measure the thickness of this one, and maybe order up an OEM one because it didn't look any less thick than that one. So it just kind of weird. So let's do that quick and see how much thinner this one is than that one. All right, the gasket size wasn't any different. Measured it, put the new one back in, and now it doesn't hit. So I'm not sure what's going on. So maybe the gasket was in the wrong way. I'm not too sure. Let's try to put the spark plug in, and maybe it hits the spark plug. Let's see here. Maybe that's what it was hitting. Holy crap, that is super high compression. We're gonna definitely have to do a squish test with this thing because I don't know the clearance on this between the piston and the head. So we'll definitely have to do that. We'll have to get some solder and sticker in there and see what the squish is and measure that because we need at least some clearance. I don't think there's any clearance. Compression seems extremely high right now. So, all right, well, I hate to end it here, but we're gonna do some more research into this thing. I don't think the piston's supposed to be coming over the cylinder like that, but maybe that's a common thing with the Quadzilla engines. I'm not really sure. We're going to order up some solder, and we're gonna stick it down here to do a squish test, measure that, and make sure the clearance is correct there before we do anything else, because I'm not blowing this thing up again in the first 10 minutes. Not gonna happen. So next video we will do the first start in this thing and then take it for the first ride. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the little build on this. I was hoping to do the first start today, but we ran into a couple problems. So hopefully next video everything goes smoothly and we can take this for a ride longer than 10 minutes. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Till next time, we are out.